pre-recorded from my garage. It's the show that did not bet on David Girvin to win the championship. Welcome to the show. It's SPL Live. This is the final episode of the season, wrapping up or encapsulating, doing our best to encapsulate what Season 4 was for us, as well as giving a huge shout out to the SPL Playoffs Championship winner, David Girvin. Great job, man. Yeah, that's pretty good. But once again, we are SPL Live. With me, my friend, my colleague, T. Watson. I'm Anthony Mariona. It's going to be a pretty simple show today. We're going to go ahead and start off with giving our congrats to David Girvin, who wound up pulling off probably one of the most special seasons out of everybody in the history of the SPL 4 seasons in. I mean, he wound up finishing with a 90% win percentage, which is the highest that we've ever had. Yep. Was the 5th seed, and wound up being able to battle his way through the playoffs, which I'll say this. Playoffs did not go the way that any of us thought it would go. Not at all. But meanwhile, we'll go into kind of what the playoffs was and how everything kind of turned out. We'll go over a little bit of what decks we've seen and some of the moves that we witnessed, as well as finishing up with. Are we doing a tiers? For next season? I don't know. So. I don't think we need to. I think we know who's king of the tier right now. The rest, it doesn't matter. It's all about David Girvin and his excellence and his manager's great words of encouragement. And enthusiasm and everything. And Paul Heyman, a.k.a. Zeke. Yeah? So let's jump right into it. David Girvin wound up beating Carlo De Castro, the number 1 seed in the finals. Girvin came in with a deck that I think a lot of people just weren't prepared for yesterday. Was that the easiest way to say it?
I think so.
Yeah? You talk about it.
I think the thought process between a lot of the players was to just play really aggressive decks rather than decks that they have played before, minus David, because David has played Roaring Moon before. He played at the mid-season, so he has been playing the deck for a minute. But, Luke played Miraidon, Corey played Miraidon. Who else? I think there was one other Miraidon. I don't remember. But yeah, it was crazy to see the deck choices from some of the players. Obviously, the Tina Boys stay Tina Boys.
Not David. my thing with it is David's journey to get to where he is. Once again, one of the greatest seasons that we've had. Yep. One of the most consistent players, even with having a somewhat downward spiral at the end. Yeah. I talked to him about it and he kind of laughed it off and he was like, you know something, I wasn't even tripping off of it. I could have literally missed the last week of the season and still been able to get where I wanted to get to, which was 5th place at the time. Yeah. I know that him and Zeke were playing a lot together, and Zeke wound up getting the better of him, being able to get in, and Zeke wound up taking the round 1 loss, which I think a few people expected. I would have predicted Zeke to win. Yeah. Primarily because Zeke was, kind of giving it to Girvin at the end of the season. But Girvin just hung in there and hung tough. And, I mean, his resilience really showed.
And he didn't drop a game all playoffs.
Yeah, he went. It was very similar to Tyler's run. Yeah. I think Tyler wound up losing one to Ryan. Yeah. And then from there, Tyler just cleaned
house.
Yeah, and I mean, Girvin, it was a special run, and it was really, really awesome. Some things definitely broke in the way, but I mean, this is the thing about Pokemon. It's better to be lucky than skill. Yeah, and it's funny because David Girvin is good with an incredibly good amount of luck. Yeah. If we look at the bracket, we see Corey wound up losing really early, which I think for me personally, he was a favorite of mine to go all the way. Mike Moreno losing in the top 8. Farnlocker actually beat Luke, which was funny. Luke wasn't.
None of us predicted.
Yeah, Dylan wound up losing in the top 8 as well, coming in as the 2nd seed. Audrey wound up losing in
round 1.
Yeah, in the top 14. She goofed. Yeah, and that's what I heard. So, like, you have all of these things that kind of worked really, really well together. And once you kind of started seeing the dominoes falling, I honestly thought that, Mike had a really huge chance. I thought Carlo was
gonna take it.
Yeah, I mean, Carlo was playing out of his mind. And I talked to Carlo about this. He had a full a scouting report and all these different things with predictions.
Man brought the notepad with a full scouting report.
And it was in detail and it was thoughtful and everything. And I mean, I think the one thing that people kind of slept on was that they just didn't expect much from David, even after a quality season that he had. So much respects to that guy. I think he's somebody that's definitely we're gonna have to look out for next year. It's really, really awesome. But mad props to David and what he was able to accomplish. Do you have anything to say about his run throughout the season and through the playoffs?
I think it's a Cinderella story for him to play the kickoff and go completely undefeated.
Oh yeah.
He has that win streak for I think it was 4 to 5 weeks undefeated.
It was the longest streak, active streak I think ever for our league for someone to go undefeated.
Yeah.
The way that he did.
And then just for him to fall off, and we give him a little flack for it because he fell off, just for in the end to go completely undefeated. So he goes undefeated at the very first event and the very last event.
Yeah, and once again, it was just an awesome run. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next season with David. Once again, Summer League is going to start probably sometime in May. We'll give you exact details a little bit later. June?
Remember, we take 3 months off.
Yeah, 3 months. But it's ultimately going to start around the time that summer starts. So
so June.
Hey Google, what's the first day of summer? I don't know. I can't hear it. But either way, it's going to be around end of May, June time.
Yeah.
But regardless, this is more about David and his triumph that took place at the June wonderful 20. Host, Fire and Ice. They were incredible.
Oh, my goodness.
The shop is beautiful. For a lot of people that haven't been there before. That was their first time.
I can't wait for you guys to see some of the clips because that shop is huge,
enormous, clean. The gaming stuff that they have there is incredible. Really good deals on. I was finding Lorcana stuff.
Yeah.
And I know this is a Pokemon channel. Lorcana is an expensive card game that is very hard to find product for, and they had an abundance of product for Lorcana. They had a whole bunch of singles for Pokemon.
Yeah. They have a great store layout. You can buy video games.
The staff there was incredible. They were so welcoming and everything. I am so much looking forward to working with them in the future. So huge shout out to them. They had a guy there named Javier who helped us with the stream, which I mean, huge shout out to that guy for everything. But jumping back into the Girvin thing, I'm really looking forward to see what happens next season with the Summer League, because Summer League for us, as everybody knows, is a much bigger league. Last summer, we wound up having close to 50 people. We're expected to have more this season.
Our
depending
kickoff
on
had 46 people.
Yeah, we're looking to have more depending on how we kind of go about in the off season and determining whether or not we want to go into a money league or if we want to stick to more traditional routes that we have when it comes to raffles and some of the cuter things that we have. But we'll discuss that once again. Closer to the mid. No, we meet in the middle of the off season. Then we set up for the new season. So we'll let everybody know.
So
probably
leave some comments or suggestions on what you guys think. You would like to see for next season.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to get your guys' opinion. And ultimately, this league is about you guys and us as a community. And I think from there, we're not saying that we're gonna let everybody. It's gonna be. How would I say it? It's going to be your guys' take on it mixed with what ultimately
we feel is best.
Yeah, with a group of us that have been playing for a while, that are really just looking for the best interest of everybody. But ultimately, we'll figure it out and we'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
But aside from that, we'll go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. I want to talk more about some of the matchups that we saw yesterday or on Sunday at Fire and Ice, and we'll catch you guys after the break. welcome back to the show, everybody. Once again, we're going to go ahead and give our flowers, or give his flowers, to David Girvin, SPL Season 4 champion, defeating Carlo De Castro, 2-0?
2-0.
In the finals of the SPL playoffs. T, I do want to shed some light, give the spotlight to all of the other competitors that were there. We wound up seeing a good chunk of the league, for the Winter League that wound up showing up. And it was really exciting matches with a lot of upsets that happened in the first bracket, with Cody versus Corey. We can start with that one, which I think is pretty surprising, but Cody wound up having a really solid season as well, finishing in 4th place. Corey came back from a huge deficit to make it to 13th. But give me a little bit about that matchup. What happened?
So Cody was on Tina, and Corey happened to be on Iron Hands. I think it was the Peony version, which is supposed to have like an overall favored matchup versus Tina, but it looked like Corey bricked a little bit, path stuck, and Cody just got the better of him, and I think it was a 2-0.
Yeah, and that one once again is something where I respect Cody as a player 100%. I talked to him a lot throughout the tournament, and he's looking to help us next season as well. But I just didn't have Cody beating Corey.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that Corey was there. And when I saw Corey for the first time, I walked up to him, gave him a big hug. He shook his head at me and said, same thing as last time.
Yep.
Out in the first round. And I was just so devastated for the guy, because I know how much of a competitor he is. He literally flies up from SoCal.
My goodness, yeah.
Not specifically just to play games with us, but to do the things he does. Now, another huge upset that a lot of people probably weren't thinking was going to happen, Luke versus Farnlocker, happened on our stream. Wound up going to game 3, which I think a lot of people were kind of not expecting, primarily because Farnlocker's matchup against Luke should have been an easy 2-0, and it wasn't. What did you see?
So I think Farnlocker, well, take that back. I think both of them misplayed, but Farnlocker did give Luke an opening to win game 2 after Farnlocker won game 1, but then Luke whiffed on a crucial knockout, I think, in game 3 to allow Farnlocker to just take the win. So it was a crazy game, but Luke playing Miraidon was not something I expected, but I think that was based on like Luke's lack of knowledge from just playing at Fire and Ice and not playing anywhere else. So he didn't know what Farnlocker was on.
That's true. There was a lot of mystery heading into this with some of the brackets and who was playing what and so on. So it's funny, we jump down to the next matchup, which is once again a similar situation, except I think Vince did wind up playing at Fire and Ice a couple of times. Isaac and Vince pulling out the upset. Our trainer of the year, Vince Sandoval, taking out Isaac. Your
in the Tina mirror, no less.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It was a horrific game 3 for Isaac. I walked over and I saw Isaac had like nothing in the lost zone until like turn 3, and Vince had 7 in the lost zone by like turn 2. So he was popping off. I think he missed Mirage Gates for a little bit and kind of let Isaac get back in the game. And he almost decked Vince out, but that did not happen. And Isaac just, they took it to game 3, but overall, Vince got the best of him.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's experience, maybe it's luck, but Vince was somebody that had a really strong season. I think last season he was 9-9 for the better part of it, wound up finishing 25. 8-1 this season, and he said he was way more committed this season than he was last season. Which definitely shows. But huge props to him for what he was able to accomplish. And unfortunately, his ride didn't last as long as what we thought. Moving from there, we have David and Zeke. Zeke wound up scooping to David at the beginning of the round. I think that was pretty much something that they probably talked about, and I can understand this when you have two friends, two competitors. you definitely tend to have faith in one of the others. I would say this: if me and T were to meet at a regional, and we were playing to get into day 2, I would probably scoop to him.
Ant would scoop to me,
knowing that he is the better player.
Ant would force me to play and then beat me and then scoop to me.
That would be 100%.
That would be 100% how he would do it.
But it was something that wound up kind of taking shape and moving along David on his path to greatness.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge win for him. From there, Gleason versus Archilla, which is another matchup that I think both of us were really excited about.
Yeah.
Gleason wound up coming on strong towards the end of the season, and Audrey just had one of the more consistent seasons out of anybody that we've had too.
Facts.
So Gleason gets the better of her. What happened?
So Nick played Chimpao back, and Audrey played Palkia. What is it? The Palkia Gardevoir deck with Kyogre.
Yeah.
So I think what happened was, because I only saw the tail end of it because I was watching all of the other games, but in game 3, Audrey made a misplay, so she couldn't Kyogre for game, and that allowed Nick to just take the final KO and take round 1. But they played a crazy 3 games, which with decks like those, that's insane, especially seeing Gardevoir Palkia still work in this format.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and that's the creativity that Audrey's been able to bring throughout the entire time that I've known her.
Yeah,
Audrey does not play the most meta decks all the time, but her knowledge of the game and knowledge of the game itself when it comes to deck details and so on, she kind of knows how to play. And this unfortunately was just one of those times where it didn't work out for her, but still creative, and huge shout out to Gleason once again.
Oh my gosh.
Someone that after you kind of started seeing the dominoes fall, you had to kind of pick new ponies, and Gleason was definitely someone where I know T was probably rooting for him as well. Now moving from there, we go ahead and jump over to the last matchup, round 1, Moreno versus Terry. Mike, previous winner of the Battle Trophy, won the Midseason Showdown, was Season 2 Points Cup champion, as well as the SPL League champion, going up against Terry, who was somebody that hasn't had the best of luck in the playoffs. Tell us what happened.
So, I thought they were playing the same 60. I think Terry's 60 was a little bit better than Mike's. I think they were only playing like 1 or 2 cards different. But it was a Charizard mirror. It wound up just going into time, and how time rules work in playoffs are there are no ties. So whoever takes the most prizes after the 3 turns would be declared the winner. So Mike ended up being up on prizes and getting the win that way in game 3. But they played like a decent back and forth. Terry got Mike game 1, Mike got Terry game 2, and then Mike just brought it home.
Yeah, and that playoff rule seems a little, I don't know. I like the idea.
It's worked out for Mike twice now.
I feel like, and this is just me personally, and we'll definitely love to hear your guys' opinions in the chat or in the comments, but I just feel like if you're going to be in the playoffs and the rounds are ultimately one and done, play out the matches. Just play them out. Like, whatever time extension you need to be able to finish that match, just play it out. To just stop and go, well, this person has more prizes, but in 3 turns you would have won the game anyways.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like overtime in any other sport in the playoff. You just play it until somebody wins. That's me. And I another thing, I would love to hear your guys' opinion on this. You guys want to go to best of 5? Best of 7?
Best of 5. Best of 5.
Or you guys just want to go straight to best of 1s? I feel like this is my take. In the NBA, MLB, and NHL, they do best of 7s, because who doesn't like to have that type of stress on them, where you have to win 4 matches against your opponent to move on to the next round. Or you do like the NFL and play a best of 1 and say whatever happens, sometimes that's life, and you roll with it from there. Whatever you guys would like to voice your opinion on, I would love to hear it, but that's just...
I think it's a good middle ground to just do
best of sevens. I agree.
Best of 5.
All right, we'll move on to the top 8. This one was a little bit crazy. We had Carlo versus Farnlocker, Cody versus Mike, Dylan versus Gleason, and then Girvin versus Sandoval. I feel like we go ahead and we start with one of the bigger upsets, I would say, primarily because this person upset their entire family line.
Yeah.
With Dylan playing Gleason, and settling for once and all that Scott Brandau is the best Brandau.
Yes.
Dylan falls to Nick Gleason in triumphant fashion. Tell me a little bit about that matchup, T. I know you were keeping an eye on it.
It was also our stream match for top 8, but sadly enough, there's not much to report here. Dylan just couldn't play Pokemon. He bricked twice.
Went to game 3 though.
Did it?
I think it did. No, scratch that.
No,
didn't.
No, it did not.
Yeah, Dylan is just an embarrassment.
Dylan just had a hard time finding Pokemon, had a hard time setting up, and Nick capitalized the way he should, honestly. And I watched their game 2 where Dylan opened 2 Pokemon and all switching cards for 2 turns, and just couldn't set up. He didn't have a Comfy. He couldn't get a Colress.
Clearly a skill issue.
Yeah, he was just not playing the game.
Yeah.
So
Dylan, just play better. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Ultimately, like I said, I feel like this clarifies a lot of things. Scott Brandau, the league misses you.
The league needs you.
We need you. Someone has to be able to ride Brandau all the way.
Yeah.
And clearly, your boys just don't have what it takes yet.
It has to be you.
A quick question though, between the two brothers, would you rather lose in the top 8 or lose in the first round?
Ooh.
Which one's more embarrassing? Hit us up in the chat, in the comments. Would love to know. Is it more embarrassing for Luke to lose to Farnlocker, who is new to Pokemon, or is it more embarrassing for Dylan to
get a round one bye and then
lose,
ejected?
It's terrible. Catapulted out. Going from there, we'll go ahead and jump down to Cody versus Moreno. That one was a matchup, once again, where if I had to tell you the truth, I would have picked Mike heading into that matchup.
Yeah.
Once again, I feel like I keep having to justify this by saying I do like Cody and I think he's a good person. There are people that I'm more familiar with. Mike is someone that I see a lot. Wasn't expecting this. Cody comes out, slaps Mike in the face, calls him the B word, and Mike goes home crying. T, what'd you see in this matchup?
I didn't actually get to watch this matchup. I left to get lunch. But from what I understand, first off, also I would have picked Mike because Mike and I have played the Tina and Zard matchup literally all of this format. Mike should be very familiar with how to play this matchup, what routes he needs to take to victory. But Cody went in there and he got it done himself. He was like, look, if everybody's going to doubt me, I'm just going to show and prove. Yeah. And that is exactly what he did.
Well, you know what wound up happening towards the end, and I talked to Cody about this because we were laughing. Cody had no more energy, and he kept just punching with cram. And punching and punching and punching, and Mike could do nothing except die. And that's what wound up happening.
Oh my god.
So huge shout out to Cody. Going from there, we jump over to Girvin versus Sandoval. This once again is a matchup where I didn't get a chance to watch it. I know you went to lunch, but I think Vince just didn't expect to see the Roaring Moon matchup. And Vince, once again, comeback trainer of the year, hell of a year. Girvin just came out on fire, and I think he was playing something that he was the only Roaring Moon.
Yeah.
At the entire tournament, and he really just threw people off. And I think Vince, was affected by that, not knowing how to go about it.
Yep.
Clearly, when you have something that could just instant kill anything big that you put up, along with then being able to punch the little stuff without taking damage, and you're playing stadiums, which those stadiums are going to be packed to the peaks.
Yeah.
Roaring Moon doesn't worry about that.
Roaring Moon is not really affected by that.
Yeah,
unless it's like turn 1.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I look at this and I tell myself that Vince gave himself the best chance to do this, and he had a heck of a season. But ultimately, this was Girvin's tournament, and this was Girvin's day, and he proved it. Moving from there, we have Carlo versus Farnlocker. This one was really pretty straightforward. Zard matchup versus Guardy is not a good matchup. It's not fun for anybody. It sucks, and
you have to hope Guardy bricks, and even then, Guardy could still make it out because it just has all of the tools to come back.
Well, and this is the thing, that this was the first matchup for Carlo, and I believe Carlo won the first match.
Yeah. And
then they took it to time on the second game.
Yeah.
And Carlo won because he won the first match. So, just kind of the way it works. It's who Carlo was throughout a good portion of the season. Yeah. Huge shout out to him.
Carlo 1-0 to Castro.
Yeah, he pulled it out and he was able to advance onto the top 4. And, huge shout out to Farnlocker who wound up, having one of the bigger upsets, but ultimately succumbed to the number 1 trainer in our league, as well as Carlo won Trainer of the Year. Yeah, as well. So you could have lost to somebody way worse. You could have lost to like Luke or Dylan, but you didn't. So congrats. Moving from there, we look at the top 4. This was pretty crazy. We had Carlo versus Nick. Which was in its own right, once again, a very, very fun matchup.
Yeah.
That one seems like it actually goes in Nick's favor, being able to punch multiple things with the ninja and so on, but Carlo was able to pull that one out. What do you know about it?
From my understanding, I think Nick bricked in one of the games, and as you should, Carlo took full advantage and ran away with it. Which makes up for the day prior, Nick beat Carlo at the League Cup in Roseville the day prior. So
at the A1 term.
Yeah. So it was Carlo's revenge tour for that one.
Yeah. That one's crazy, and I still think, once again, if I had to pick, I would have probably picked Carlo just based off of the overall year. Points Cup champion, Trainer of the Year.
I was rooting for Nick.
It had just an incredible season.
He did,
and I'm so proud of him for everything that he was able to accomplish this past season. And he's another one that we have to look forward to going into next season. But with that, we go over to, once again, the road to victory for David Girvin, going up against Cody Bishop in another Tina matchup, where at this point you have to just think that Girvin is just comfortable with that matchup. He winds up winning, what did he win? 2-0? 2-0 in this one as well. And at this point, do you just feel like the rest of the room wasn't ready for Tina, or wasn't ready for Roaring Moon?
I think with how everything played out, with all of the Tinas winning, it made David's path so much easier, because had the Tinas not made it, we'd have Charizards and Miraidons still there. Yeah. And it gets a little uglier, but with Tina, your path is just so much easier, because you can Calamity Storm and take out Tina V's, you Frenzy Gouging, you take out the V stars, and then that's so much pressure on a Tina player to try and respond. Yeah,
especially if things don't work out. Sometimes you get that one hand where you just get that one Tina out, you don't get the other one out until later, and it just becomes this ugly little mess. But this is what we were talking about at the very beginning of the show. Sometimes it's really nice to be lucky along with the skill.
Yeah.
David had both this day. He picked a great deck, and hard to knock him. From there, we move into the finals, where we have Carlo De Castro versus David Girvin. Girvin cleans house. This is
Carlo bricked twice.
Yeah, but honestly, I just don't feel like that's gonna. I think this is just a very, very bad matchup for.
It's not.
Is it not?
It's not.
You're hitting for weakness.
No, you only hit for weakness on one thing, which is Big Guardy. But Baby Guardy is your attacker. Baby Guardy is what KOs everything. And Carlo just couldn't get to it. It just never happened. He couldn't set up, and he just got ran over. He bricked both games. If you go back and watch the VOD, he bricked both games. Like, he was not coming back. He got donked game 1.
Oh yeah, he did.
He got donked game 1, and then game 2 he tries to set up.
Got to play better, Carlo.
He just couldn't get the pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those things where, for me, I guess I would have looked at it that the Roaring Moon does have a good matchup, because you're able just to take little knockouts with the Frenzy Gouging, or not Frenzy Gouging, Calamity Storm, because Carlo and them are putting down so many stadiums to look for things, whether it be Pokestops or whatever stadiums they have, or Artisan. So you're just giving them the ability to hit over everything that you play down.
Yeah.
You're right, though. You would think that in certain circumstances, because you have all these single prizers, it's easy just to poke sometimes.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't in the cards. And unfortunately for Carlo, David was the hero of this season. It was his story, it was his journey, and he wound up taking it all the way as the 5th seed, winning the SPL championship. So that's kind of how the entire day was capped. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and finish it off here. We'll come back. We want to wrap some things up with a couple little facts, and we'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everybody. With the last video, we're hoping to get all of your support with that final push to catching up to Mr. Beast. We've been working on it all season. Each week, we've gotten closer and closer and closer. So thank you to that. But Mr. Beast, we're coming for you. From there, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up with a couple of things. SPL Honors Tournament, we wound up seeing Will Hildebrandt take victory there. He will be receiving...
With Tina.
Yeah, with Tina. He will be receiving free entry into next season, depending on... Well, not even depending. If we go Cash League, he still gets free entry. If we don't, he still gets free entry. We'll figure that part out. Another huge shout out to Javi for helping us out with the stream. We'll go ahead and link his channel and all of his information down in the description below, along with Fire and Ice, which, once again, fabulous shop. So happy to be there.
If you're ever in the Rockland area, please go check it out.
Yeah, please check it out. It's so nice. And they're going to be opening up another location in Citrus Heights, from what I understand as well. So, yeah, I'm just saying what I heard rumors about. And then from there, I think the last thing, David Girvin David
Girvin posted a deck profile for all of you to see just what he played at the championships. So we're going to go ahead and drop that video as well. So please be sure to check that out. Yeah,
it'll follow this one sometime soon. Hopefully I can do it while I'm still editing this one. But worst case scenario, you're going to be able to see David 60 and the deck that he piloted all the way to SPL Championship. Yeah. Guys, until then, this is the final show. We're going to miss you.
Yeah.
It was fun. We'll give you updates later, but...
more content. Hopefully a stream coming soon.
We're gonna start streaming again on at the lab. Not sure what dates, but to keep track of our Twitch channel as well as the YouTube channel. We're gonna figure that out too. But until then, guys, we'll catch you all at locals.
Deuces.
Peace.